Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 29 of a Runnin Thought podcast. I am your host, Clint, and it's good to be back in 2022. I hope you enjoyed that energetic intro music. I borrowed my son's drums and recorded rhythm guitar with Gretsch hollow body and did lead and bass with a downtune and octave downshifted Telecaster, and the magic of GarageBand and all the effects that are built into that. It's all over the place, but it's kind of catchy and distinct, wouldn't you say? Yeah, so let's jump right in. So Happy New Year, everyone. Living on Big Island is cool in a lot of ways. One thing that stinks is not being able to see loved ones on the regular. Happy New Year, shout out and big thanks to my family and friends. I appreciate all the check-ins and for you all being a part of our life in 2021. My hope is 2022 will see the end of pandemic hysteria and the continuance of remote work, because who wants to go to an office? You know what I mean? My goal for 2022 is to lose 20 pounds and run 2,000 miles, which is 38 mile weeks, or roughly 7.7 miles 5 days a week. So that's 8 times 5 times 52 weeks in a year, 2,080 miles, I guess, which is what I was doing essentially to train for the Georgia Jewel 100 miler back in 2019. All right, onward. Congratulations to everyone who finished Go Big on the island of Hawaii. 260 mile, 100 mile, 100 kilometer, and 50 kilometer. And then, of course, the relays. And actually, it's quite an accomplishment. I've got Ultra Sign Up pulled up. As you can imagine, there aren't a lot of people that finish those long distances. So I'm just going to take a quick couple minutes just to shout out and congratulate for the 260 miler John Wright from Portland, Oregon, with a time of 74 hours and 52 minutes. Maybe I shouldn't read all of these times. I'll just read their name and where they're from. Let's see. This one's a little tough. Saravanan Milsami. There's no city listed, but great job. Russ Reinbolt, La Jolla, California. Jeremy Killeen, Belfair, Washington. And it looks like, yeah, those were all male finishers for the 260 miler. For the 100 miler, there was one finisher according to Ultra Sign Up. Congratulations, Stan Fortuna from Grand Haven, Michigan. 74 years old, finished a 100-mile race. So what am I doing with myself? What are you doing with yourself, people listening? 74 years old and finished in 31 hours and 35 minutes, 100 miles. For the 100 kilometer, congratulations, Patrick Howell from Wrangell, Alaska. And then for 50K, congratulations to John Lee from Johns Creek, Georgia, and Lynn Maddox. And there's no city listed for Lynn. All right, but yeah, so congratulations to everybody, and then all of the relay participants. I think last time I checked, the relay participants aren't listed on Ultra Sign Up, so I can't call you all out by name, but yeah, congratulations. I hope it was a good run. All right, so Hawaii is, yeah. So now is the time on a Runnin Thought podcast where I run down upcoming ultras on the island of Hawaii. I try to limit it just to Hawaii Island because that's where I am. And if I did Honolulu, I would probably never finish because there's so much stuff going on there, and on other islands as well. So yeah, let me actually do my job. It doesn't seem like it, I'm sure, but I actually tried to prepare more for this podcast than I have in the past. I've been sort of going through and writing down some kind of a script for this episode. But man, I am still a little disorganized. So I'm actually on Ultra Sign Up right now, and let me go ahead and do a search. All right, so for Ultra Sign Up, not much is coming up for 2022 thus far. We've got New Year's Cheers, which is a 6-hour, a 5K, and then a 3-hour, and that's going to be on Saturday, January 29th of 2022. That's going to be in Volcano, Hawaii. Under the Moon, 200K, 100K, 100K relay, 50K relay, and I believe 25K. That's going to be on Saturday, June 11th, 2022, and that's in Hilo. Go Big for 2022 is going to be 260 miler relay, 100 miler relay, 100 miler, and then I believe 50K and 50K relay. That says Hilo, Hawaii. I'm not sure where all of those different events start, but there's plenty of time to figure it out before Saturday, December 31st, 2022, which is the date for all of those. All right, and that's all I got on Ultra Sign Up. I'm going to check another site because they usually list some events too, and this is from runningintheusa.com, and I'm searching for Hawaii County. Yeah, so March 12th, 2022. Now, all of these are not going to be ultra events, so just letting you know. So March 12th, 2022, Kona Brewers Festival Run for hops. That's going to be in Kailua, Kona. 10K, 5K run. March 20th, 2022, Big Island International Marathon. That's, of course, 26.2 miles. And then there's a half marathon, 13.1 miles, 10K, 5K, and a 2-mile run. There is a virtual option. I don't know if it's for all of those events or just some of them, but that will be, of course, in Hilo, Hawaii. April 3rd, 2022, the Lava Man Triathlon. That's Waikoloa, Hawaii. Again, you can find all this information on runningintheusa.com, and you'll just look for Hawaii County. The Ironman, it says June 4th, 2022 in Waimea. Under the Moon, I think I already read that from Ultra Sign Up, so let me just read it again because maybe I didn't. So June 11th, 2022, Under the Moon, that's 200K, 100K, 50K run in Hilo, and then finish in Waimea. June 11th, 2022, that is also Under the Moon. I don't know why it's on there twice. Maybe some events start no, that's odd that it's on there twice. Yeah, I'm not sure. And then, of course, the Kona Marathon, 26.2 half-mile event, 10K and a 5K run. That's going to be in Kailua, Kona. And if I didn't say the date, it's June 26, 2022. All right. So that's, into June. And then the next ones down are like in October and November. So I'm not going to bother with those yet. All right. So I'll close that down. And yeah, so next up is a Dear John letter. So my Strava buddy John was on Big Island recently. We had horrible weather that week, and scheduling conflicts kept us from running together. It was a bummer. But congratulations, John. I read your name just a minute ago for finishing the Go Big 50K from Volcano to somewhere around Punalu'u on December 31st. My friend Alex, who's a race director for that, said that she got to meet you and you were the nicest dude. So respect. Congratulations again. Next up, thanks Oahu. Shout out to Keaton in Oahu, or on Oahu. Got to stay aboard his sailboat and do some tough hikes on Cocoa Crater Lookout and Willy Willy Nui Ridge Trail. Apologies to the couple of people that maybe saw me hanging brain. I did not realize my rest stop was overlooking the trail. So, yeah. One thing that was pretty cool, or there were a lot of cool things, but one thing that was kind of crazy, we were eye level with a helicopter while we were coming back down Willy Willy Nui Ridge Trail. A search and rescue helicopter was flying around, and it was a little uncomfortable being, right there, sort of eye level with the rotor blades of a helicopter. They weren't really close to us, but still too close for comfort. Whoa, on that one. A lot of foodland trips on that trip, and I got seasick on Keaton's sailboat. Sorry, Keaton. But other than that, it was a great trip. I had fun. Keaton was a gracious host. And I got to say, staying on Keaton's boat in the harbor, the mornings are so peaceful. Like the water is so calm, and Honolulu is so quiet. And then, once everybody wakes up, it's noisy again. But, oh well, it was nice. Next up, thanks Maui. I was lucky enough to hop over to Maui at the beginning of December. Holy hell, it ended terrible, but my stay was great. Thanks to Noelle and her family for letting me stay in their cabin and sort of shuttling me to a few primo trails despite the crazy weather. We got to go to Waiho Spring Forest Reserve, which was a loop trail. I think it was maybe a little bit over a mile loop, I think, if I'm recalling correctly. This is the same trail. Most people probably don't remember this, but Amanda Eller, a couple years back, I think 2019, she got lost. She stumbled off the trail. I don't want to go into too many details there. It's still kind of a sore subject, but anyway, I think they looked for her for like a month. And they thought the boyfriend had murdered her. And fortunately, she, search and rescue finally did find her. Somebody went in deep into the wilderness and was able to get her out of there. But yeah, same trail. There's anybody can guess what went down. I don't know for sure, but I think that she definitely went off of the loop trail because it's only like a mile circle, so kind of hard to get lost there. Yeah, and she had definitely stumbled out into off trail, like far away. I do know that. The reasons why are all speculative, and so I don't want to. It's like I say, it's a touchy subject. I don't want to go into it, but yeah. So we also got to go to Waihi Ridge Trail in West Maui, near the Natural Area Reserve area. Does that make sense? I don't know. But yeah, so we went there. That one was pretty cool. That was on a day when the storms were really kind of starting to move in. A little bit more on that in just a second. We tried to do Haleakala. Thanks again, Noel, for taking me up. Even though when we went through the gate, the ranger let us know that the road was closed 7 miles from the summit. We still went up anyway, just because I wanted to, and Noel is so nice. But of course the road was closed, so we did turn around and come back down without going to the top. Bummer, but I think winds got up to like almost 100 miles an hour, or maybe they got up to 100 miles an hour that night. And a bad storm system dropped a ton of snow on Mauna Kea, back on Big Island that same evening. I guess like through the week, it was horrible weather for like a whole week almost. If you want to check the Mauna Kea ski report, you can do that. I might check it right now just to see it. If I can copy this link. For some reason, nothing wants to work when I really, really need it to. But yeah, so you can go to www.snow-forecast.com and you can search for Mauna Kea, or you can just do a browser search for Mauna Kea snow report. I'm going to check it right now, and I'll let you know as of the moment of this podcast and me talking right now what the snow report says. Snow report for Mauna Kea. There's definitely snow up there because I can see the cam. It looks like the last significant snowfall was 2.8 inches, and that was on Wednesday, January the 5th. So this is funny because there's no lifts on Mauna Kea, of course. It says Mauna Kea snow report is lifts open, unreported. Our model predicted 11 centimeters, 4.3 inches of snow fell over the last 6 days between Sunday, 2nd of January at 12 a.m. and Saturday, 8th of January at 12 a.m. at the mid-mountain level. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Mauna Kea, I believe, is like just under 14,000 feet, I believe. I think it's like 13,800 or something, but yeah. 13,797 feet to be exact, I believe. All right, cool. So back on Maui though, which is just sort of right across the channel from Big Island, there was wind and rain everywhere, trees down, power outages, including the airport. So as I was being dropped off at the airport, the power was out there, and the generators weren't working, and I'm not sure if the generators ever worked or if the power company was able to get power restored. But the irony was I was sitting in security line for probably about 2 hours, I would say, and we're staring at the train station, which is right across from the security area at the airport, and it had power the whole time. And I think the parking lot also had power on its lamppost. I think I may be misremembering, but yeah. So everywhere had power except for security. Shout out to the nurse from Oahu who helped pass the time in the security line with some funny conversation. We talked about sort of glory days. She used to do triathlons. She was a triathlete. And then, of course, I used to do way more long distance running than I'm currently doing right now. And so it was kind of a glory days conversation wherein we talked about, like getting older and how like once that once you let that slip, that energy and that drive to to do hard things, if you let that slip for just a little bit, like you will lose it, and it's tough to get it back. And like, we both hit snooze on our alarm clocks now, where we used to get up and run 100 miles or get up and do a triathlon. But anyways, that was awesome to at least have somebody to talk to in the dark while we waited to get through security. I ended up sleeping in OGG in the Maui airport that night. Thanks to Southwest staff for sticking around at the gate to keep security from booting all of us passengers out of the airport. And also thanks Southwest for the travel voucher that I'll have to use later to visit. Maybe I'll visit Kauai or something. But yeah, so the deal is with OGG, with the Maui airport, it may be the same for other islands too, I'm not sure. But like if you have a layover, or if your flight gets canceled, you can, this is all according to the internet, so do some research, I guess. But from what I could gather, once the last flight goes out of the airport, security makes rounds and starts kicking everyone out of the gate areas down into, or out of the airport, like outside of security. And so like there's a lot of stories about people that have had to sleep in the benches or on the benches in the baggage claim area. And the weather was horrible that night. So I was very thankful. Although I was on tenter hooks the whole night, I didn't get much sleep at all because security did keep coming into the gate area, and I was so afraid that we were going to get all of us kicked out to the baggage claim area. But we didn't. So thanks Southwest for sticking around. And yeah, that was no good. Like my heart goes out to everybody that has had delays over the holidays. I got a small taste of that. Not even as near as bad as all the cancellations over the holidays. But yeah, I learned something cool. Willie Nelson has a place on Maui. I did not know that. I would say like big fan. Like I'm not a fanatic about Willie Nelson. I'm not fanatic about Willie Nelson, but I like Willie Nelson a lot. I listen to him on long runs, and I've got a book I think I've mentioned before on the podcast that I like to read. Is Letters to America by Willie Nelson. Yeah, so he's got a place on Maui. It's pretty cool. All right, so yeah, enough about Maui. Thanks again, Noel, and your whole family for being so cool to let me have a place to stay and chauffeuring me around. Weekly running club. It's been nice running with the group one day per week for the last few months. So shout out to Alex, Ariel, Sean, Justin, Todd, Carmelita, Rebecca, David, and anyone that I may have missed. Running with a group, I found, pushes me to do different and more difficult routes, go faster, and laugh a lot harder than I would if I was running by myself. I've especially enjoyed talking The Office, Britcoms, and other funny shows with Sean. He hangs out with me in the very back of the pack out of sympathy, maybe like half sympathy, and then the other half just laziness. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to go there, but yeah. Anyways, I'm just kidding, Sean. But yeah, it's been fun. A lot of times my distance is increased too when I run with the group because I like to park inside the park and run about 3 miles to meet up with the rest of the group who usually parks outside of the park. This gives me some time to go at my own pace and shake everything out before I join the group and then start running like way faster because they're all faster than me. Plus, this adds some more time on my feet and distance that I desperately need right now. Also getting some practice with remembering my headlamp or using my Garmin's navigation features to route back to my truck in the dark. I had to do this last Tuesday because what normally would have been like a 5 or 6 mile run turned into like an 11-mile run, and I had about 20 minutes to do a 30-minute run back to my truck. So part of that was in the dark, and I just I used my Garmin's route back feature just to, I still couldn't see, but at least I would know like, oh, there's a turn coming up here. Or the most important thing is like, I'm only 80 miles from my truck or whatever. So that can be comforting when you're running or walking in the dark. So thanks everybody from the Weekly Running Club, and hope to do a lot of runs with you guys in 2022. Moving on, 2021, as it happens this time of year, or actually more end of last month, Strava started sending out the year in review reels highlighting users' achievements in 2021. Mine was just a barrage of lowlights, as it's been, let's say, a lazy one. So for 2021, my total distance was 794.1 miles. Just for some context, the year prior, total distance was 1,318.2 miles, and even 2020 was sort of a lackluster year. But we're talking about like I did about half the miles that I had done the previous year in 2021. One thing that did sort of stand out, though, my elevation gain for 2021 was 87,070 feet, where it had been 75,545 feet in 2020. So I think in 2020, I was, I don't know why I said it that way. I think in 2020, I was running a lot on Beach Road, which has no elevation, basically, no uphill or downhill for the most part. So that's probably why that's a lot less, or a little bit less, or whatever. Yeah. So overall distance, 7,249.5 miles over 1,074 runs. And that, I think, is for like the last 6 or 7 years, something like that. Yep. So I'm still averaging about 1,000 miles per year. But like I said before, I want to definitely bring that number up. I'm shooting for 2,000 miles in 2022, and we'll see how that goes. All right, onward to life after Pfizer. So for this one, I know this is a touchy subject. So let me just preface this with I've had many vaccines in my life through school, military service, and working in medical settings. So I'm not pushing a pro or anti-COVID-19 vaccine agenda here. I do have one strong opinion, and that is that no viewpoints should be suppressed, and all should have an opportunity to withstand or wither in the forum of civil public discourse. Frankly, I think anyone who maintains an unmovable opinion about the vaccine at this point is doing a disservice to everyone, including themselves. And to be honest, I really hope that therapeutics will become the mainstream effective treatment, because who really wants a bunch of booster shots or a lifelong relationship with drug companies? I digress. it took me forever to get vaccinated because of past adverse reactions to a Hep booster that I had that resulted in deafness in one ear and facial numbness for a day or so. That was pretty scary. I did end up getting my first and second COVID-19 jabs in November. I can't recall any acute response, like headache or nausea or anything like that, other than fatigue and sporadic head and neck aches that weren't like at the time, they weren't really acute, but over time, like I would have these sporadic, or I have had sporadic head and neck aches and little bouts of fatigue. So I have developed a tightness and clicking in my right knee about a week after the first jab. Being an unlucky 80s kid, I got chickenpox before the vaccine existed for chickenpox. This made me susceptible to shingles, which came on in the gnarliest way a few years ago, which was not super. And then in the past 2 weeks, so this is like about a little over a month since I got my second Pfizer dose, I've experienced a very mild recurrence of that, which has been more visually startling than uncomfortable for me. There's sort of a spiky feeling that anyone who's had nerve pain or neuralgia knows about. The biggest thing that I've experienced is fatigue. I don't know if this is related to the vaccine, but I found a couple of items interesting. The first one, again, I'm not trying to push any agenda, but I'll give the official CDC take, and then a couple of other things that I picked up. Okay, so the JRE podcast with Dr. Robert Malone, MD, who is the doctor that patented mRNA therapy. You can find that on Spotify, and I may just post these links to runninthought.com. I'll have to do that after I record this, which will be fine because you probably won't hear this until after I make those edits anyway. So, anyways, Dr. Malone also has his own website, and you can find that at rwmalonemd.com. And also a JRE podcast with Dr. Peter A. McCullough. You can find that on Spotify. And then conversely, some alternate information. These are coming from PubMed articles on arthritis and shingles post mRNA therapy. If you go to pubmed.ncbi.nlm.nih, that's NIH, .gov, and then the first, you'll do a slash and then 340333732, and then the second one, all the other stuff is the same, pubmed.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov 342-22134. And so basically the podcasts will all say that there's a possibility that the arthritis and the recurrence of the shingles symptoms could be caused by the vaccine, and then the PubMed articles basically say, it's not certain that either of these could be caused by that. So you figure out what you want to believe. But I know for me personally, I did start noticing these symptoms after I got my second dose of the vaccine. All right, but enough on that. Last Sunday, this may be one of those times, but freaking A, my head hurt like so bad. I woke up and my head and neck were killing me. And I'm not sure if I slept wrong or what. Sometimes I fall asleep watching Your Mom's House podcast. I like to watch it on YouTube versus just listening to it on Spotify or whatever, especially when they do the TikTok rundowns. So, but anyway, sometimes I fall asleep with like more, too many pillows under my head, and I'll wake up with like a crick in my neck. But that day I woke up with my head just killing me. I tried stretching, drinking caffeine in the form of coffee, going for a run, which sort of turned into a long hike because it hurt to actually run. I felt like I was bouncing my brain around. I thought that would cure it for sure, but it didn't help at all. I felt so sleepy after I did that hike. I tried a hot bath with some Japanese bath salts, pressure points, hydrating, and finally I gave in, just took 200 milligrams of Advil and turned in early, which worked. I woke up the next day with no headache, so that was awesome. According to WikiHow, www.wikihow.com/ get-rid-of-a-headache. These are 21 ways to get rid of a headache. I'm not going to go through like the whole thing. A lot of or I won't go through a whole descriptive paragraph for each one. You can kind of do your own research. A lot of these are sort of no-brainers, no pun intended. But so 21 ways to get rid of a headache. The first is caffeine. Cold pack, warm bath, dim lighting, meds, meditation/yoga, acupressure, lavender oil placed on the upper lip, weekly massage, chiropractor, osteopathic manipulative treatment, acupuncture. I said acupressure before, but this acupuncture, hydration, no alcohol, breathing exercises, sleep more, avoid trigger foods. Example would be chocolate, and there's a bunch of other ones you can read on that WikiHow page. And then finally, exercise. Those are the methods that they gave. And then number 21 was like I think it was like know what different pains in different parts of your head mean, basically. So there you go. I hope that you don't ever wake up with a headache that you have all day, but if you do, now you've got 21 things or at least 20 that you might try out. All right, so switching gears, I read a website, I guess. This is actually, I think it's a thesis. It's a collaborative work from Harvard. The page is titled Biomechanics of Foot Strikes and Applications to Running Barefoot or in Minimal Footwear. And this is a collaboration by Daniel E. Lieberman, Madhusudan Venkadesan. I probably said that wrong, sorry. Adam Dowd, William Werbel. And that's out of Harvard again. The website is not on a secure page. I think this is a fairly older study, maybe from like around 2010-ish, maybe. But if you want to visit, just, be aware that it's HTTP and not HTTPS. So it's barefoot running, all one word, .fas.harvard.edu. And this one, I was sort of distracted while I was reading through it. I was watching a lot of things because it took several days for me to like even get through this, probably because I was distracted doing other things. But one of the things that I was looking at a certain point was videos of kid drummers, and it's amazing I saw one where Dave Grohl sent a message to this Japanese kid. I think their name was Yoyoka. Before she played on the Ellen Show, I think she played the Pretender. And as far as like just technical, was just perfect. Like the drumming was perfect. And then for her age, that made it even more amazing. This other video I watched was like a 10-year-old kid who absolutely slammed on, he was playing with a AC/DC cover band. I was just rocking out on the drums. And so it's amazing what people can do. But yeah, so I was thinking that and sort of like switching back and forth to reading the study. But yeah, sorry, I'm fooling around in GarageBand for a minute. I'm trying to see where I'm at as far as the recording. My bad. So at any rate, this collaborative work, was looking at human evolution and endurance running. It provides information on the foot and lower limb biomechanics when running in shoes, and then when running barefoot or in minimal shoes. It discusses biomechanical differences between forefoot striking and heel striking, and then gives tools to help assess potential benefits of learning to forefoot strike, and then how to transition safely to forefoot striking, barefoot, or in minimal footwear. So a couple of main points, I think, from this. Most experienced habitually barefoot runners tend to avoid landing on the heel and instead land with a forefoot or a midfoot strike. This also explored the collisional mechanics of different kinds of foot strikes. And so you can probably tell I'm reading this. This is coming from Harvard. This is on a whole nother level, so I had to make notes to read off of, but I am giving you kind of like the Cliff Notes rundown. I highly recommend that you read this because it's very interesting, and you will go down some different rabbit holes just looking at some of our ancestors, some of the predecessors to Homo sapien, so like Australopithecus, and Homo erectus, and others that I can't think of because I did not go to Harvard. But at any rate, I did go down a lot of rabbit holes myself, and looking at the renderings of early humans, it was wild, like staring into our past and looking at the similarities between modern humans, gibbons, gorillas, chimps, and orangutans, primarily looking at the skeletal structures and comparing them, and thinking about what in the world snapped to make us as humans endurance runners, musicians, kid drummers, and all the other things that humans do that no other species or primate does. Kind of germane to that thought, I recently yesterday I watched The Alpinist. I highly recommend it on Netflix. It's about free climber Marc-Andre Leclerc and his unreal and potentially deadly outings, which really dampen my enthusiasm for the follow-up show that I watched called We Are the Champions, also on Netflix. Episode 1 of that dealt with, was about pro yo-yoers. So the stakes weren't quite as high, and I wasn't quite as interested in that show. But still, I can't do the yo-yoing that they could do. And it's amazing how humans have so many niche specialties and things that we can do. But as far as running goes, no primates other than humans are capable of endurance running. This this collaborative work was, or I won't say it was full, but it had some funky kinematics diagrams where the little man is either running or walking, and it shows, where all the joints are articulating at different points within the stride. And I think they had some for walking, and then they had some for running side by side. And you can see, and it actually goes into great detail. The walking motion is more of a pendulum, where the legs kind of swing off the hip, and running is more of a spring motion, where you've got explosive action. Your muscles are sort of like launching you, springing you with each stride. In contrast to apes, and again, I'm reading all of this, I don't know all this in my brain. I had to write this down and read it to make it more palatable and less strenuous to listen to for all of you, but and also to help me wrap my head around it. But yeah, so in contrast to apes, human legs have many long spring-like tendons, and these are connected to short muscle fascicles that can generate force economically. Fun fact, the Achilles tendon was absent in Australopithecus and originated at some point after 3 million years ago, probably in the genus Homo, which is we're part of that genus. One of these notes I've got noted: longitudinal arch of the human foot. Oh, yes. We have a longitudinal arch in our foot, and this provides support, but also provides spring action. So that's something to know. The human cost of transport is essentially flat at endurance running speeds. And so the reason I noted this and highlighted it was, from what I could gather from how I interpreted it, it looked like at a certain point, endurance running, actually, there's diminishing returns on walking, where you should probably run because your body's going to be more efficient. It's going to use less resources than if you would try to walk that same amount of time or that same distance. That's how I understood it, but you do some reading yourself and figure out if that's what it means to you. Humans increase our speed during endurance running mostly by increasing our stride. I did not know this. The stride length rather than the rate. So the way that I usually run endurance races or endurance running is I do take more steps. So I am running slowly, but I'm doing more steps. So I've been doing it wrong all this time. So I'm going to try to work on increasing my stride length. I'll do what I can. I'm only 5'9", so it's not going to increase that much, but I'll see what I can do. Relatively long contact times may be advantageous for endurance running because the inverse of contact time has been found to correlate across species with the energetic cost of running. So running is priced by the step. So that one, I'm trying to work this out in my head, but so contact time, I'm imagining that's the time that your foot is on the ground, has been found to correlate across species with the energetic cost of running. Oh, okay. So it's saying the opposite. So the more time your foot is on the ground, you're using up more energy. It's costing you more because running is priced by the step. Okay. Yeah, so don't keep your foot on the ground as long, I guess. Like take faster steps. I mean, it makes sense. Take faster steps, do longer strides, right? That's kind of the formula for going faster. Oscillating long legs increases the energy cost of running in proportion to the limb's mass moment of inertia. I believe what this is saying is the heavier the limb, right? So the more your legs weigh, the higher the energy cost of propelling those legs forward or making those legs move. At least that's how I understand it. Humans have more compact feet and relatively short toes, only 9% of total leg mass compared to 14% in chimpanzees. Reductions in distal limb mass have little effect on the energetics of walking, right? But produce substantial metabolic savings during endurance running, which is what I was saying before. So it doesn't really make much difference for walking if you got big old heavy legs, but if you got big old heavy legs and you're trying to run, then it's going to cost you more, more metabolic energy use. Human runners reduce running stresses to some extent through limb compliance and midfoot striking, thereby also storing elastic strain energy in the leg and foot, but must otherwise dissipate impact forces within their bones and joints. So that's important because it's saying that whatever you're doing in your foot, that's going to probably radiate on upwards in your leg. And so what they found was that with a forefoot midfoot strike, it looks like less of those shock forces extend up into the upper leg, so like the knee joint and your leg bones. Whereas if you're striking with the heel, you get, I guess, I don't want to say like the full force of all that shock, but a significant force of all of the shock radiates up your leg. So in other words, like striking with your forefoot and midfoot is where it's at. Let me get back on track here. So humans pitch forward and rotate independently in the trunk to compensate for instability of their bipedal gait. Chimps cannot do this because of their compressed spine, long pelvis, and compressed shoulder girdle. So if you look at the skeleton of a chimpanzee, it's very like compact, and they're built for climbing. So there was something that I didn't quite really grasp onto, but I think like they were trying to convey like humans, we're kind of spread out more. So we've got like these long bodies, and our heads are not as tightly or as significantly attached to the lower parts of our trunk, whereas like if you look at a chimp, there's significant attachment between the head and the lower part of the trunk. And so like being able to have your arms swing, and then your hips are swiveling at in a different direction, that's part of the way that we as humans are able to keep our balance when we're running bipedally. If we couldn't do that, then of course we wouldn't be able to keep our balance. The gluteus maximus, which is your butt, your booty butt, is strongly recruited in running at all speeds, but not in walking on level surfaces. So your gluteus maximus is important for running at all speeds, slow or fast. A big thing, a big advantage that humans have with running or any kind of endurance activity is thermoregulation and respiration. Humans have less hair. We are able to sweat and get that convection going. This one, it's in quotations, elaborated cranial venous circulation, mouth breathing, not panting. Before I get to the next one, I just want to explain that when they're talking about the elaborated cranial venous circulation, so they broke it down and basically said, like, because of the I guess, like, the amount of blood vessels that we have in our head, we're able to sort of use our head as a cooling point, so that blood goes to our head and then gets cooled off, and then that in turn gets passed around and cools off our insides, basically. So that's what they're talking about with the elaborated cranial venous circulation, or at least I think that's what they're talking about. And so the next one, this was sort of my favorite sentence in the whole work. Human distance runners are thus obligate mouth breathers. This permits higher airflow rates with less resistance and muscular effort. Okay. And so I think we're almost done with this big long list. Sorry. These are just sort of like the high points, the cliff notes, if you will. So endurance running probably originated with the Homo genus, but there's no feet, like they haven't found foot bones, and only a few cranial remains to prove this or to try to support this. The hypothesis is that early hunters used running to get close enough to throw stones because they lacked bows and spears and other weapons. They may have run some animals to exhaustion because other animals lack the ability to sweat and to thermoregulate. So, like in 15 minutes, you can run down kudu and have it for dinner. So that might have been what the reason why humans started running. It could have also been a means of spotting carcasses at a distance, and being able to run to those to scavenge bone marrow, brain, or other tissue before other scavengers got to it. So it notes in the article or the work that hyenas and wild dogs do this currently by smelling or seeing vultures circling over something, and then they mobilize and run to that carcass, I guess. So sorry about that big long list, but those were sort of the more interesting points that I found. No studies have shown heel striking causes more injury. Around 30 to 75% of runners get repetitive stress injuries each year, which may be due to heel striking, but not necessarily. It's not proven as of the time of this work was published. Modern running shoes were invented in the 1970s. Presumably barefoot sandals or moccasins or running flats were worn before that. I guess you wouldn't really wear barefoot, but you get what I'm saying. The conclusion or hypothesis was that until recently, most humans had much more varied gaits. Sometimes they landed on their heel, but more often they were midfoot or forefoot striking. They suspect that forefoot striking was most common. Also, they hypothesize, and there's anecdotal evidence that forefoot or midfoot striking can help avoid and or mitigate repetitive stress injuries, especially stress fractures, plantar fasciitis, and runner's knee. They do emphasize that this is a hypothesis. It's yet to be tested, and there have been no direct studies as of the time of this being published on the efficacy of forefoot strike running or barefoot running on injury. So the site itself has some cool side-by-side videos of shod or with shoes on versus barefoot strikes with force times body weight waves. And so you can see sort of like the force that's exerted with each stride. There's also side-by-side images, descriptions of heel strike and forefoot strike. I actually, today I was inspired by this. I decided to try out barefoot running at Volcano on a trail that I frequent there, which is partial sort of soft ground that goes through a ohia forest, and then part of it goes over a old lava field. I gotta say, going up to Volcano today, I was so excited. I was giddy, as if I was trying out a new pair of shoes for the first time. Like, I was so excited to get up there, and I had preconceptions of how this was all going to play out. I of course kept my shoes on until I got out of eye line of any spectators, and once I was out on the trail, I went ahead and took my shoes and socks off, and then tried to run for a little bit. I ended up not running at all. It was so painful on my uncalloused feet that I could barely walk. Like, I slowed down so significantly that after a couple of steps, I put my shoes and socks back on. And then once I got into the forest area, I thought about trying again. So I took my shoes and socks off again, and I was walking on the sort of the softer dirt part of that trail. And then I remembered that all up that trail, or all over the park actually, there are yellow jackets that sort of like hover. They do yellow jacket things, but they're always underfoot. And so I didn't really feel like getting stung by a yellow jacket and then having to deal with that. So I put my shoes and socks on, and then I just completed the rest of my activity with shoes and socks on. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to maybe build some calluses up on my foot. I don't know what will happen here, but I'm not setting out trying to run barefoot all the time. But I am kind of curious, like, is it better? Is it more fun? Does it help build up, calf muscles or break down and rebuild some ligaments and tendons that otherwise wouldn't get a workout with a heavily padded, max cushion shoe that's supporting, my whole foot. So I'm going to try to, I know that's never a good sign when somebody says they're going to try to do something, but I'm going to take some steps to see if I can build up the calluses on my foot, and so make it maybe a little bit more of an option. I probably won't run I definitely won't run all the time barefoot, I don't think, but it'd be nice to do it every now and then and sort of get my feet toughened up, because right now they're baby feet. They're very soft and very sensitive to the ground. It was a little much on me today, but yeah. So I've got this thing. I don't know quite how to explain it. If you know what it is, then you'll know what it is. But I got it at H Mart in Atlanta a long time ago. It was in the section of H Mart where it's not a grocery store. It's just all these different contraptions from Korea. And this thing is supposed to be like an acupressure foot. I don't know what you would call it, like foot massager or foot thing. But all it is, it's just a sort of a plastic rectangle, and it's got all of these points that jut up out of it. And so it's kind of like, think of a bed of nails. So it's kind of like that, but it's all made out of this fluorescent yellow plastic. And if you stand on it barefoot, it hurts a lot. So I usually stand on it with socks, but I think I'm going to like try to train with that a little bit. And then every now and then I might slip my socks and shoes off and run over some gravel, or try to walk over some gravel and toughen up my feet a little bit. One other thing that did occur to me, I live in a subtropical climate, and I'm pretty sure there's hookworms and other ground parasites here. So that's always a fear and a consideration when you're going barefoot, because a lot of those what would you call them, parasites, they are able to hook on your bare foot, and then they travel through your bloodstream up to your lungs or wherever, and it's kind of you get sick. It's sort of nightmarish to describe it that way, but that's what happens. But at any rate, who am I? What do I know? But I'm thinking, if a person is used to running in shoes, like just stopping the use of shoes could be bad. One thing that came to mind, I recently was reminded of, like Indian, African, and Asian tribes, like the Padang tribe in Myanmar, or the tribes in Africa that wear the rings around their neck. And so my understanding is like the neck doesn't actually elongate, but because the rings are around the neck, it atrophies the muscles in the neck. So like if those women lean their head back too far, or if they remove the rings, then there's a good chance that they may have injury to their neck. I don't know if they break their neck but I do know that they have injuries because their muscles are atrophied. So the same thing probably happens with your feet, wherein like you've got all these support structures and modern running shoes, and then you take them away, your musculature's atrophied. It's not tearing down and rebuilding stronger, like your foot and leg structures. And so the point being, you don't just go out running barefoot. You might injure yourself. There were lawsuits against the manufacturer of Vibram Five Fingers because their shoes, which are very minimalistic, to sort of provide a barefoot feel, they were blamed for injuries that people had. In my opinion, the injuries were probably due more to neophytes overexerting themselves or failing to taper into zero artificial support and cushioning types of footwear. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. But yeah, so a very interesting article. Again, if you want to, I keep calling it an article. I don't really know what to call it. I guess it's a thesis because they had a hypothesis, but it's never, I haven't seen the research that, goes with this to like clean it up and cap it off. I'm sure it's out there. I was primarily searching for, barefoot running Harvard study and just couldn't find anything more recent for this, but I'll look again. Maybe that'll be a future podcast. But yeah, so it was very interesting. But yeah, to read what is there, which is all very great material, it's Barefoot Running, all one word, .fas.harvard.edu. And so I think that I probably didn't articulate any of that as well as I would have liked to, but it's done. So let's move on. The next thing that I want to talk about is the Ultra Mont Blanc. So I've been, or I guess it's Mont Blanc. I've been a fan of Ultra since trying them around 4 or 5 years ago. Materials and construction and durability have been an issue with some models. I've run a lot of miles on shoes with giant rips and tears in the upper. I've had some, I'm talking to you, original attempts that split apart. The sole and the upper split apart very early on. Like I barely got to use those shoes. To be fair though, even at fighting weight, I'm about 190 to 200 pounds, and I run on a lot of rugged basalt. So a lot of rugged terrain that rips shoes up. I've been running in 2 pairs of the Olympus 4.0 for last year. These have been very durable. They're holding up very well. I've used to use the King MT for daily runs and earlier models of the Olympus or Torin for longer runs. The reason I like the King MT and Olympus is that generally anything with Vibram or Vibram soles is superior to its non-Vibram counterpart. So Ultra's proprietary Max Track soles, they don't do it for me. I slip and slide all over the place in wet conditions. I just prefer to pay a little more for the Vibram soles. King MTs have also been discontinued, and they're no longer available in my size, which is a 10.5 from third-party retailers. Maybe I can find these on the dark web somewhere, but not on the regular web or the Amazons. Olympus is good and has Vibram soles, but they're a little heavy and clunky for day-to-day use. Sometimes I like to go faster and feel the ground as I run. Of course, even the most cushioned of shoes, their foam compresses through use and becomes dead weight, which is kind of where I'm at with the Olympus. They don't feel totally bad. They feel a lot better than running or trying to run and actually walking a couple steps barefoot felt today. So I'm not going to complain too much, but yeah, at a certain point that foam, just becomes dense. It just gets compressed and is no longer good to anybody. So with all that said, I was excited to see a new shoe for 2022, the Ultra Mont Blanc. I posted a video up at runninthought.com/soapbox. My understanding is that this shoe is designed to run distances of 100 miles in, and I believe it. The sole looks max cushioned out, and the upper looks lightweight. Also new for 2022, the Superior, the Lone Peak, which looks like version 6 is already up on their site. That's another meh from me. I just don't like those proprietary rubber soles. I prefer Vibram. So I posted that video, and you can find reviews for the Mont Blanc all over the internet or in a search engine. I don't know if there's like that many reviews, but there's enough. The Mont Blanc, they're going to have 2 versions. One of them has just regular laces, and then the other one has a BOA, or maybe it's called BOA lacing system. And so you can learn more about that lacing system at BOAFit. That's BOAFIT.com. to my knowledge, the regular lace version will be released around March, and then the BOA model will be released like later in the year, but I don't know that for sure. In my humble opinion, I can totally see the BOA systems, laces, and dials popping or breaking. I did look at their site, and BOA offers spare parts kits for field repairs and also has a replacement guarantee on the dials and the laces, but they don't do anything for like the stitching part of the shoe, which could also break. And then you just wouldn't be able to lace your shoes up. So I don't know. For me, it's seeming like, the lace model may be maybe better for me, just because I'm more for the durability than having the fancy lace system. But I'll probably end up getting both the laces and the BOA models, and then just update you all on any catastrophic events. But yeah, so just to recap on the Ultra Mont Blanc, the upper, it's a thin ripstop nylon mesh. The outsole is a Vibram Mega Grip light base. I don't know what that Mega Grip light base is. I just see Vibram, and it's good to go for me. The midsole is Ego Max material, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the King MTs also had that same Ego Max material. The weight on the model with laces is 9.9 ounces for the male model, and then 6.9 ounces for the female model. On the model that has the BOA lacing system, the weight is 11.2 ounces for the male, and then 9.3 ounces for the female. So significantly heavier with that lacing system. The price for the regular lace model, $180. For the BOA model, $210. And that's all I know. Hey, if you want to donate to my pair or just support the podcast, go to arunninthought.com and click on donate. That'll take you to a Square Payments page where you can make a payment securely, but by no means do you have to or need to. Just if you want to, you can. Just throwing it out there. Next up, good luck, Alex. My friend Alex is running the Hurt 100 on January 15th, 2022. Tough event. And I'll just say this. Good luck to everyone who's running the Hurt 100 on January 15th, 2022, because it is a tough event. Just a little snapshot. It's 100 miles over 5 laps, partial out and backs in a semi-tropical rainforest. It sounds delightful. I can assure you it is not when you're doing 100-mile loops, or you're doing 100 miles over 5 loops. 24,500 feet of cumulative elevation gain and 24,500 feet of cumulative loss over the course of 100 miles. It's 99% single track trails and then 1% asphalt. The 99%, from what I've seen, is all roots and mud. Moderately packed soil, generously interspersed with roots, rocks, puddles, and mud wallows. And I do mean wallows. Narrow trails through forest, along exposed ridges, and past vertical embankments. 20 stream crossings. Yay! 4 for each lap. 3 aid stations per lap, and a 36-hour time limit. So it sounds like a good time, and that description was taken directly from the one that they posted on Ultra Sign Up for the Hurt 100 2022. You can see the Book of Hurt. Sorry, I lost my place. So you can see the Book of Hurt, and you can you may still be able to register for that race at ultrasignup.com. Sending good vibes to Alex and everyone else. Hopefully we'll be able to get Alex on the podcast for a post-race recap. Again, to check out the Book of Hurt or to volunteer, you can do that at hurt100.com. That's HURT100.com. And I'm thinking that the next podcast needs a what and how to pack for a 100-miler rundown. And so maybe a runner collective of ideas. Maybe Alex can come on and we can dish about that. Maybe I can get our other buddy Justin on too, because he's got way more experience, I think, with those long events than me, for sure. I've only ever completed one. I attempted to. My first one was, I've got a lot of what not to bring for the first attempt that I can share. Please visit the shop at at shop.arunninthought.com. We've got LBC, DBC gear. I'm working on adding back the trucker hat and beanie. I've had some issues with the logo and meeting the template requirements for embroidery. They changed the way that their template is, and so I had one that was working for a long time, but then I'm trying to make it meet their new standards. I'm just having trouble. At any rate, I try to keep the prices barely above cost. So check it out. Again, shop.arunninthought.com. And I think that's it for this episode. Until next time, I will leave you with an amp chant from one of the greatest films of our time, Hot Rod. And if you're familiar, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're not, then you will think I'm insane. So with that, ancestors protect me. May they protect you. Gods of war, may your hammer be mighty. Take care.